You are now listening to Pull Hook Golf, an unfiltered golf podcast taking you inside the ropes with unfiltered stories, insights, analysis, and exclusive interviews. Welcome back, everybody, to Pull Hook Golf. This is episode number 62, and it is a magical one because this is PGA Championship week. This is the second major of the year, or if you ask the LIV Golf guys, that every week's a major for them, so this would be nothing new. But we're going to get into it. We've got breaking caddy news that we're going to talk about tonight. We're also going to be talking about the AT&T Byron Nelson, and we're going to recap that. It was a great week there with a fantastic storyline behind it. We've got the PGA Championship week, as I mentioned, so we'll be talking about that. Really kind of diving into the field analysis, the golf course conditions, all of that good stuff. If there's anything that Bobby can shed some light on for us, that would be great. And then we've got LIV Golf Tulsa, and we're going to recap that as the finale here. So LIV Golf lovers, if you are on, just wait, because there will be a key moment to where we will put the earmuffs on you, and you might not want to be listening, but at the same time, we'll go over the good, we'll go over the bad with LIV Golf. And sure enough, Bobby, why don't we get started with the breaking caddy news? You've got a big update here for us tonight.
Bobby Brown is no longer working for Troy Merritt. I don't know how simple to say that. It was another disastrous week for my ex-team, I guess I'll say, last week with a golf course where 20-something, 23 under wins it, and we were 3 over after the first day and 3 over after the second day. And I'm going back to South Korea. I decided to go back to South Korea, do a little visit with that rookie that I've been raving about, S.H. Kim. It kind of moved very fluid over the last 24 hours, so to speak. I don't know how many details I really can get into and stuff like that, but it's just one of those deals, man. I don't even know how to explain it, but when a guy misses 11 out of 12 cuts, it's just
time to move.
It's time to move. I mean, listen, I could go over a million topics, but I mean, that's a tough stretch. I've never been involved in something like that. I got a family, I got Lori and I got 2 boys to feed. And when you're making, a couple $1,000s a week and you're backing out anywhere from, if you're cheapy Carl and you're spending $1,100 to $1,300 in expenses for a week, that's great. I'm making a whopping $600 or $700. And randomly when that happens, it's no big deal. But when it happens 11 times in a 12-week span, then something's got to give. So I've left numerous players before. I was sharing with you that it's been a very emotional day for me today. And it's strictly due to the fact that I've left players before and it was like, fuck you. I'm out. I don't like the way you treat me or for whatever reason, or I'm upgrading to a better player or something like that. You don't think twice about it. But this one I had to think about for a long time. And I'll tell you the 2 reasons why I had to think about it. The biggest reason is because Troy Merritt is one of the greatest human beings that's ever walked the planet. Through all of this stuff, he never finger pointed at me. He never said anything negative to me. He appreciated me hanging in there with him, and we were out there fighting it out, and it just didn't work out. But I truly believe that this S.H. Kim, and as you know, I've been raving about him since this show original 61 episodes already. Wow, time flies. 62 episodes already. Well, time flies when you're having fun. So, but to me, this is a no-brainer because I truly believe that this young man, he obviously, he was Rookie of the Year on the Korn Ferry Tour. That's not an easy thing to do without winning a golf tournament. He had 1 second. He came on the map a couple of years ago at the CJ Cup when he was a no-name Korean, and he was leading after 36 holes in Vegas a couple of years ago is when he came on the map. Fortunately, that year I got paired with him at a Korn Ferry Tour qualifying school for a couple of days and got to see it up front. And I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And I truly believe that he is the big sentence I'm firing out right now, Matt. I truly believe he is the second coming of Sungjae. So I had to make that decision. That phone call was the hardest phone call that I've ever made. One of my favorite sports movies I was sharing with you is Moneyball, right? And when Brad Pitt sends Jonah Hill in to release somebody or send him to the minors or traded. I believe that the player was traded. I was literally running errands today and I was driving around the block in circles because the anxiety. Have you ever had to fire anybody in
Yep,
your
multiple
job?
times.
Somebody that you were attached to? Because people need to know the dynamic of a player and a caddy that have been together for a little under 2 years. We made it, and you were literally spending a minimum of 8 hours a day with that person. You're sharing personal information about each other. You learn a lot about you become attached not just to the hip work wise, but you become great friends, and you know a lot of things about each other, and you get this bond. So, I'm really good friends with his agent, Peter Webb, who originally reached out to me and recruited me for the job. And as everybody knows, we had a great year, fantastic year last year, just a fantastic year, numerous times, a few chances to win, blah, blah, blah. But, I tried to call his agent first because I'm close with him, and he was at Oak Hill, and it would ring a couple times and it would go to voicemail. So I knew he was busy. He's got Maverick McNeely in the field, and he was probably taking care of him and some business there. And I couldn't fucking take it anymore, right? I just have learned that you just got to get it. You just got to get it over with. So the gist of the conversation goes, I call him, he doesn't answer, he calls me back. And we never really talk much on the phone. He's a big texter. Well, everybody texts, right? I'm the only one that leaves voicemails. Well, I wasn't going to leave a voicemail. And he called me back. Hey, what are you up to? And he's like, oh, Bob, I'm running the house. His wife's name's Courtney. She's been in bed 2 days with strep. Not what I want to hear with the topic that I was going to bring up. And I just told him, I go, hey, here's the deal, man. I'm going to moneyball this. You're a great player. You're even a greater person. But, I have an opportunity that I don't think that I can pass on. And it's time for me to make a change. And I couldn't even finish my sentence. And he goes, and that's it, Bob. And that's all you got to say to me, man. I understand a business is a business. You have a family to support. And we laughed. We chuckled about a couple things, and that was it. And it was a clean break. And I felt a lot better. But I got to be honest with you. I've been, for all the shit talking and sarcasm I have and that kind of stuff, there's a big one in there for me, right? There's a big heart in me. And I'm not going to get misty or anything like that. But when it's a guy like Troy, I was just struggling emotional wise, like I had just lost my best friend or my buddy. And I'm not worried about seeing him next week or crossing paths or anything like that. It's just a fucked up feeling, man. It's just, I've never had that feeling before. And I wanted to talk to his whole team. His coach sent me a nice text message. The deal was we were planning an intervention yesterday, a conference call. And we had put together some metrics, obviously from what I've seen in the stats that I've pulled up, which I really don't even need stats to tell you what's going on. I've, verbally expressed my feelings on what I think is broken and that kind of stuff. But there is a stat guy out there named Hunter Stewart, and he works for Maverick McNeely, Scott Stellings, maybe a couple other guys. And I didn't realize how high tech this game is going now as far as numbers and shot dispersion. And so him working for Maverick McNeely, who also shares the same agent with Troy, Troy's agent sent me some stuff and, his shot dispersion and what he needed to work on. It's everything I said. And the one thing that caught me the most was approach shots to the green. I'm going to back up and say, when you go over Troy's stats, there's 12 major categories that I look at. Troy was outside of the top 100 in 4 of those stats last year. This year, Troy is inside the top 100 in 1 of those stats this year. And in big bold letters, he had said, it seems like when Troy's in the fairway that he misses greens to the right as many times exactly as he hits greens. So there is a flaw there, which I've been verbalizing to you for quite a while now. So it's just a fucked up deal. But I had literally got off the phone with a 45-minute conversation with his agent, and he totally gets it. He totally understands. Usually these breakups can get dirty and it's a fuck you thing. And I'm coming back down now because I'm super excited to go to work for this young man, because I think he has all the potential in the world to be one of those special kind of players that you look for. And, for those of you that don't know, people should know now after this podcast, is that I'm a worker bee, right? I like working 6, 8, 10 hours a day. And that goes hand in hand with a Korean, and Troy's deal 12 years later on the tour was, you work for a few hours and then you go back to your hotel and you watch a movie or you do something like that. So I'm excited to get back into that grind, and I'm excited for the horsepower that I'm dealing with now, because I know I'm dealing with some serious horsepower. What I'm not excited about is that I do know he speaks very, very, very little English. I mean, like very little English, which is a big concern to me. But I dealt with that with Sungjae in the past, and I take the bull by the horns in that situation, and I try and teach him a new word every single day. He does his numbers in meters. I'm already experienced in that. Our books are high tech as far as targets go and that kind of stuff. We are playing Colonial next week, which it's funny. We were talking some episodes ago, and you were like, "Hey, what course, Bob, would you compare Hilton Head to?"
Yep.
Yeah, well, Harbortown too. And I immediately said, well, there's not really anything like it. Sony, how the hell did I miss Colonial Country Club out of all this is unbeknownst to me, because it is the same exact thing, only a different grass. It's a position course where it takes driver out of your hands. So that's going to be a little tough for me, for a rookie, trying to explain to him why on a 380-yard hole in 2023, you just don't bomb driver down there, right? You play to these, they have those old school red, white, and what are red, white, and blue plates in the middle of the fairway, 100, 150. And on a handful of those holes, you literally hit a 235-yard shot to that 150 plate. And that kind of gets you the best look. I struggled in the past with Siwoo. I've talked about it a couple times. They're being overly aggressive. So I'm going to have my hands full doing something like that, but I'm stoked. I'm over the sadness. Boy, this had to happen and that kind of stuff. And I'm really looking forward to the future. This young man sits 67 on the list right now. He's a gem of consistency. He's probably played, I'll just roughly say he's played 20 tournaments and missed 4 or 5 cuts. He made the cut last week in Dallas with a Korean buddy on his bag, and played good the first couple of days, didn't play great the third day. And, you got to shoot 6 or 7 under par there as the scores will show. But I'm super stoked to get back to it. Some good, hard, long working days, getting, you feel good, man, as a caddy when you work hard, right? You feel good. You just feel good about yourself. You're exhausted when you go home, and you wake up the next day and you can't wait and do the same thing all over again for as long as it takes to get somebody with this kind of talent to the finish line, because it's all about winning golf tournaments at this point, with the asterisk on being in the top 50, at worst at the top 70, but the top 50 is the goal. I'll share a funny story with you. Financial negotiations with Koreans, especially rookie Koreans, are, I don't want to divulge too much information, but it's like buying a fucking car, basically,
Spend all day.
I start here, they start here. I start here. I'm not getting here. They start here. I can't do that. And then somehow you find a common ground. But in my older age, I have never been, there 80% of the caddies out here are going to be like, well, I got $2,500 a week from this guy. Why shouldn't I get it from you? And I never, for the life of me, could personally understand that, because I never got into caddying to make a weekly salary, right? That wasn't the deal. It's all about the percentage, and it's all about trying to win a golf tournament and getting in that rush or in contention on a Saturday and carrying it over to a Sunday. So we got those details ironed out. There were a few other names in the hat that I was jockeying against and that kind of stuff. I have a great relationship with his agent, who is also Sungjae's agent, Danny O. He's always had my back. He's a firm believer in my work ethic and my experience and for what I believe in on the course. So it's going to be a good thing for Troy too, right? Because a fresh face, man, when you miss that many cuts in a row, and can I share some honesty with you? And I don't like, but when you got a guy that misses 9 or 10 cuts in a row, and you know me, I'm fucking happy-go-lucky all the time. But when it's the same old thing over and over, I would, at some points during those rounds, I was mumbling shit under my breath that I would never mumble before. And I was probably putting on a happy face that he could probably read between the lines, if that makes any sense, that that I wasn't really that happy, and I shouldn't have been that happy in that situation. So, the old saying, we were just joking about it, is you can go ahead and bet $1 that Troy Merritt is probably going to have a great week. That probably next week or the next couple of weeks we go to Colonial, and then we go to a big one at Jack's Place at Memorial, which is basically like a major for us. So I look for him to have a new face. I do know he's going to have a couple buddies on the bag for the next 2 weeks. And then he's going to try and he'll hire a full-time guy from there. But I look for us both to have a great finish to the season. And he would be the one guy, if he snuck up in the next week or two. How I am in my relationship with him. I am rooting for something like that to happen. I don't want him to be my guy, don't get me wrong. But I would be super stoked for him, because I've shared with you in the past that for as tough as it has been on me and my family and my attitude and my confidence too, Matt, when things go like that too, you're like, man, was that the right thing to say? You start second guessing yourself. Should I be involved? Should I back up a little bit and just let him figure it out himself? Which I've always been a hands-on guy, is just something trippy that I've never had to deal with. But I'm newly employed.
Congratulations.
How's that for rambling?
You had to get it out there. And, I will say this off air, you were struggling with the whole entire thing with Troy because he's such a great guy and you guys were such great friends while you're out there. But want to know the best part about having a South Korean that speaks absolutely no English is that if you want a competitive advantage, wear the pull hook hat, because he won't know what that means. And then everybody in the group's going to be looking at you going, shit, pull hook. You're going to start seeing some snipers out there, and SH is going to just absolutely crush it.
Until you get paired with some smart ass like Sung Kang or Ben On, who's going to quickly translate that to you, because I don't think they like me that much. And I don't like, Ben, I do like Sung Kang. I could fucking care less.
Suck it, Sung Kang.
It's funny. I was thinking about that too. And I'm like, man, I could rock the pull hook golf hat, but I was under a decent, another thing going that was keeping me in there too was I have a decent contract with Titleist this year, that comes payable right around Christmas. And, when you're getting 15 grand or whatever, towards that time of year, it takes a little stress off of, Christmas shopping, so to speak, for the family. But with that being said, I have no problem wearing the pull hook golf hat, like during practice rounds and stuff like that. But he is a head to toe Titleist guy. So,
well, there you go.
I was talking to one of their reps. So the Titleist really very rarely will pay a rookie unless you're somebody like Cameron Young. They're very smart with their money and they show a great profit every year for those decisions. But the way I'm looking at it is like, I've done 20 some tournaments with Troy. That's probably going to be about roughly close to 10 grand and that kind of stuff. And I'm just going to tell myself I've always been loyal to Titleist because they've been very, very good to me as far as, it's not like they hand you a set of clubs or a Scottie or something like that, but a little tidbit here, maybe a putter cover here or a putter cover there, or, they make cool hats. We all know that. And I just feel like, well, I'm just going to parlay this and stay loyal to them like I did with Troy last year and just consider it as a $10,000 hat deal for the year. But pull hook golf hats we'll get some Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday time. That's for damn sure. And
start messing with some people out there, Bobby. It's a secret.
I got enough of them. Well, I got enough of them and I've kind of toned it down with my sarcasm and my hate on some people. So now I kind of can probably wear them and people will not go, oh, is that fucking podcast where you shit all over everybody? And I'm like, I really only shit on a few people, So anyways, that's the story on the hat deal and that kind of stuff. But it was, it was a tough day. It was a tough day with a silver lining attached to it. So I am, looking forward to a change of pace and earning this young man's confidence and going out there and trying to win a fucking golf tournament, because that's all that it's about. That's all it's about.
I love it. And now you got a young thoroughbred that you can get after it with.
He's fucking 23 years old and he's that good already. That's crazy. He had a chance to win Vegas. He finished fourth in Vegas. He's been a gem of consistency. Obviously, people know that I hooked Micah up with him originally, and Micah went back to Billy Horschel. So it's funny how these things just kind of what's the word? They just kind of mold and they fit into place. I always thought, I don't really want to say this to shell Troy or shell anything, but I always thought in the long run, I just knew down deep, no matter how long, and I said it last year, how many years or how long I lasted with Troy, that I was going to end up back with a Korean, because really that is that's kind of my specialty, right? I'm the guy that hooks these Koreans up with jobs and refers caddies to them. I know how they operate. I know how much they love the service. I know the ins and outs and the secrets to them. I know how to take the abuse when it starts getting abusive. I've learned a lot over the years from Siwoo and from Sungjae, SY. No, there's been a few different ones, and I'm prepared. I'm fully prepared. So I'm going to get out of here on Sunday night. We're getting close. All these local US Open qualifiers are going on right now. He's not qualified for the US Open, and we're slowly but surely moving into sectionals. So there's a big sectional Monday that he's in Dallas. So I was prepared to do that. But when him and Micah split, he is already married at a young age, and they already let me know. And they're like, hey, we're just planning on having my wife, because you can take a pull cart, and do things on my own, like he did last week, and he played okay, and do my own numbers and that kind of stuff. And I'm like, man, I was talking to his agent, and I'm like, man, I feel lazy not doing that. And then last night I was talking to the agent, and I'm like, man, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go watch him play this 36-hole qualifier from, there's no ropes at a qualifier, but as a spectator, I'm going to go do it as a spectator. And you can actually learn a lot from a guy's game watching him 18 holes. And you can imagine watching 36 holes. And obviously I'll be rooting for him, because our US Open is coming up at LA North, an iconic place that nobody's ever been to before. So I'm gonna have a very busy week next week, man. I'm looking very forward to it.
I love it, Bobby. New action. Going from one great story to the next.
Yeah.
Jason Day wins the AT&T Byron Nelson. Yes. And I couldn't believe it when he said that he almost hung it all up. He almost retired.
Yeah, I didn't know. I knew over the last few years the injuries that he was dealing with, and he didn't look the same out there as far as the fire goes and that kind of stuff. But do you remember a short story I shared with you when we played the CJ Cup close to my house in Ridgeland here? And I told you that I went out a couple days early and I followed Jason around for those 2 days. And I did, I love tooting my own horn on this shit. These predictions that I make never happen the week that I make it, but they always seem to happen within the next 6 months, right? But remember, I called it, and I'm like, this is a different Jason Day. I see the work ethic. I see the pep in his step. I see the attention to detail. I see his body moving properly. And I did call it, and I go, I think Jason Day is going to win this year, and he's going to be back. And I'm sure this week at Oak Hill, he is a past PGA champion at Whistling Straits, which we both know very well. And I look for him to be in the mix again this year. And I'm super happy. I'm super happy for him. He's just one of the nicest guys out there. He has 4 kids. He has another one on the way. He is one of those talents that only comes along ever so often, and he has fought through the hard times. But to answer your original question, I was a little surprised that he said he was getting ready to. I mean, he's got so much money. He was getting ready to hang it up and just play the dad thing. But you being the golfer that you are, and me being involved in the business the way that I am, it never leaves your system, right, man? It never leaves your blood. It never leaves your system. It's like some kind of drug that you never wake up with a headache with the next day. So I'm super.
How many times I wake up, Bobby, and I go, I
drank too much.
I should train. No, I should start training and try to play professional golf again and all that good stuff. But you're right. It never leaves. It's always kind of that little seed that's planted in the back of your head.
Fucking disease. And I've said it before, when you're in contention to win a golf tournament, there is, I've been open about my past in my early 20s experimenting with drugs and that kind of stuff. But this is the greatest drug that has ever come along in my lifetime, being in contention. And he got it done. And I'm happy for his caddy, Luke Reardon. They're very good friends. They go way back to their childhood. He's a very hard worker. He's done his time with Jason. And he was He was kind of like a little bit, I wouldn't say, I can't really compare him to Wyndham Clark, but he was really getting on form as we noticed. And made him one of my picks, I believe,
You
in
did.
Augusta. And you remember he was right there through 36 holes, and he had a disaster, I think, on Saturday. He made a triple bogey and never rebounded, but he hasn't had a bad tournament this year. And how awesome for him to win that with all of his kids and his wife standing
That was
there.
pretty cool.
And I'm just going to say it again. I kind of called him winning. I didn't call him winning last week. The only good thing I did call was we were kind of bickering back and forth about the winning score. And I did say 23 or 24, not 27. And you were like, man, could be 30. But the only thing that scared me about that 30 was that number 12 that they changed into a par 4 from a par 5. I just figured that would shave two or three shots. We were under weather alerts the whole week. It didn't end up happening until I was watching on TV as usual late on a Sunday. But he got it done. He clipped our guy. Si Woo. And boy, this Si Woo Kim, when things are firing, he's a thing of beauty to watch, isn't he? An absolute
He really is.
thing. Yeah, a thing of beauty. You know, the other kid that finished second, I've raved about him a little bit, Austin Eckroat, the very young man that came from Oklahoma State. I've talked about him, and I know that some of us are bummed up that some of these big names have gone to LIV and that kind of stuff. But when you get these tournaments and a guy like Austin Eckroat shows up, who is a 6'4" stallion, thoroughbred, prototypical bomber that has hands these days, it opens the door for everybody else that's maybe a big LIV person to realize that the PGA Tour is going to be just fine, right? Because there's more and more of these young men coming, and he only gets beat a shot at 22 under. CT Pan, speaking of Asians, want to know another good call that I made last week? I mentioned something about Koreans and Asians on Zoysia. Didn't I? You remember saying that?
You have said that multiple times on this podcast. So I can tell you right now, you have said it more than once.
Okay, but I'm usually spot on that kind of shit. Now, the problem is you can't really bet on one because there's about a dozen in the field. But let me go through this little number for you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There were 10 Asians in the field, about 7 of them being Korean. Guess how many? And many of them made the cut. All fucking 10 of them. And CT Pan coming back from an injury. He's Asian, even though he went to UW. He doesn't speak English that big. He's from Chinese Taipei. I'm not sure where that is, Chinese Taipei, but I do know in the Olympics they have about 4 to 6 members on their Olympic team. Whether it's got to only be the Summer Olympics, right? You're not going to get anybody from Chinese Taipei in the Winter Olympics teams. But it was nice to see him have a nice week at 21 under and finish. What would that put him? 4th. Marty Dow, the little Chinese kid looks like he's 15 years old, looked like he was going to win this thing until he's hit one out of bounds or something like that. Did you watch the tournament? I think with 6 or 7 holes to go, he hit one out of bounds.
I missed that one. I did watch the last round, but
yeah, he opened up a 2 or 3 shot lead at one point. I mean, it's a fucking birdie fest, right? I mean, it's an absolute birdie fest. They were going crazy, and he ended up finishing 5th along with Terrell Hatton. Scottie, the hometown favorite with Jordan W. Dean, had a great week. You know, I saw a stat today that I think, man, in the last 15 or 16 tournaments, Scottie Scheffler has not finished worse than 11th or 12th. How is that for doing some golf? Wow. That's why he's always jockeying between number 1 and number 2. I know you're really high on Adam Scott this year. He had another nice week. It tied for 8th. I think he was at 19 under. Local hometown guy Ryan Palmer, who's been on tour forever, who lives in the Dallas McKinney area, had a nice week. He's rounding into some form. My favorite guy, Sung Kang, played great, 17 under. Ben On, 17 under. Hideki, T23. Remember I was shitting all over Tom Kim because he was doing the fucking Jordan Spieth thing and everything. Did you watch? He got rid of it after the week before last. He got rid of it, but he still struggled. He had to birdie the last 2 to make the cut on the number, kind of rallied up. I don't know if T34 is a great week for Tom Kim. It probably isn't. Sang Moon Bae was there. The rookie I'm going to work for, SH Kim, had a nice week. SY shot 11 under the first day, shot 60 the first day, and I've randomly caddied for him. I've developed a nice friendship with him. I've randomly caddied for him off and on when he's needed somebody over the last few years. So he's been making a lot of cuts. Unfortunately, he's in a bad category of 126 to 150, which only gets him in so many events, and he kind of backpedaled. There were two Cootie brothers in the field. The one that we really root for did not play good. Daniels, man, Pearson did not play good. I followed them around in the Monday Pro-Am, and he just didn't look like he was firing all cylinders. It's a home game for him, a lot of family, a lot of friends there. But Parker made the cut, and that was good for Parker to get 4 rounds under his belt in his first PGA Tour event and first PGA Tour event cut made. And my son Daniel has been saying it for 2 years now, that if you put Pearson Cootie and Parker Cootie together, other than the looks, and you watch them hit balls, you would not know who the better Cootie was. So hats off to him. You know what Parker Cootie did? He finished his round late, right? He finished 60th or something like that, made 20 grand, right? He caught a flight at 9:30 at night. Okay, they're playing in Kansas City, the Corn Ferry Tour. He's only got conditional status. He wasn't in. He landed at midnight. He checked into his hotel at 1 a.m. He had a wake-up call at 5:30 a.m. the next morning for the Monday qualifier in Kansas City. And what did he do? He went out and shot 65 sight unseen on a golf course and won the Monday qualifier. And now he's playing in Kansas City. So,
wow, good for him.
Dude, I'm out of breath. A lot of shit going on right now in golf.
There is a lot
of shit going on right now in golf, buddy.
Let me tell you something though.
Tell me something, buddy.
You've been taking a lot of credit for a lot of good calls, which are all accurate. But man, did I hit that penny bet. Scottie Scheffler, baby. Here we go. Matt's back in the winner's circle.
I really fucking take K.H. Lee over Scottie Scheffler.
You really did. You had the first pick and you decided. However, I got to tell you, I probably would have gone with Jason Day if you had selected him. So.
Well, technically, I'm going to call you a fibber on that because you tried to pick Xander, but he wasn't in the field.
Yeah, and guess who my third pick was? Jason Day.
Jason Day?
I had 3, yeah. I had him written in my notes.
How stupid am I? I love KH Lee, and we all know he's a top 50 in the world player, but it's tough to win a golf tournament once. And then it's unbelievable the odds to win a tournament back-to-back. And fucking just to nickname me, Einstein here was calling for him to hit the Triple Crown, the fucking 3-bagger. And he made the cut. That's all I can say is he made the cut on the number. Hey, it was one of those crazy cuts where 84 guys make the cut, right? But there is a kid from Australia named David Michelucci who's been a really good Australian South African Australian player, and he's got some a powerful agent, and he got a spot over here. This Michelucci guy shot 6 under the first day. He had a tough day the second day, and he was staring down an 11-footer for birdie on the last hole, that par 5, that would have knocked out 20 guys or 21 guys. Can you imagine those 20 guys that are like, oh my God, don't let this guy make it. That's stress.
Those are the things you don't really think about. You know?
Yeah, those are the things that people that just average Joe regular golfers don't think about, that there were 20 guys glued to the fucking TV doing one of these fucking things and putting every whammy, slammy, bammy on it that you could possibly, and he missed the putt and let 21 guys in. And it's crazy that Dallas tournament with those low scores always seems to have 80 to 84 guys make the cut. And we had another one, but let's all give Matt a round of applause because he whipped my fucking ass. We're not getting to the live part of it yet, but I'm just going to summarize it right now and tell you he whipped my ass on the bets. And
back in the winner's circle, back in
the winner's circle. You flipped me like yesterday's pancakes, didn't you?
I
now
sure
to the positive.
I sure did, Bobby.
Take a bow, Matt. Just take a little bow. Yeah, congratulations. You did good, kid. You did good.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I will take all the accolades that come along with winning.
I gave it to
penny
you.
Bets.
Yeah. Well deserved. Yeah, well, I'm not a sore loser. I'm a pure loser. That's for sure.
Well, what else? Now let's get into the PGA Championship week.
Yes.
And Bobby, we are at Oak Hill Country Club this week in Rochester, New York. I have played here before. What a legendary track it is. And I can't wait for this week. I think this one's going to be one of the best PGA Championships we've seen in quite some time. I think it's going to play pretty tough. What do you think?
Well, I do. I have been doing, I hate watching majors on the couch, but I'm forced to watch another one. That's two in a row, which doesn't happen to me very often. But after I run my little errands and take the boys to school and that kind of stuff, my big thing is to, put on, what do they call it on Golf Channel? PGA Championship on the Range, or whatever the name is it for. So you get all the commentators, and in these majors, they got guys out walking the golf course with the players during practice rounds. So I've been paying close attention to exactly what's going on there. I was there in 2013 with Dustin. He finished tied for 8th. I'll tell you a funny little story. Was 2013, he did not make, they were picking for the Ryder Cup team. He did not make the Ryder Cup team, but we played all of our practice rounds that year with the eventual champion, Jason Duffner. And I can remember it like yesterday. Duff did not look that good during the practice rounds, and he basically didn't miss a shot from what everybody says. Obviously, he won by 3 or 4 shots Thursday through Sunday. But it's funny, Duff was chirping me up, like, what do you think about me and Dustin being teammates on the Ryder Cup? He goes in and wins. First year of Dustin dating Paulina, so he wasn't really all plugged in on golf at that time, newly dating her and whatever goes involved with that. I'm going to keep it on the down low. Although I do have one good
partying.
Yeah, bro. Mom, I'm in love, bro. I'm gonna marry her.
He did.
Yeah, 10 years later, but still, they did get married. But I'm like, man, you've been dating her for a month, bro. You sure that's a good idea? But remind me to tell you when we get down to this little PGA thing here in a few minutes, this funny little Paulina and Dustin story, because I stayed in a house with them. But, they went through is it Richard Green is like the new guru of changing some of these iconic golf courses, right? So I've really been paying attention to him because I like watching. I can remember the whole backside, but I don't remember much about the front. I remember a drivable hole in the par 3s and that kind of stuff, but they really did some serious renovations at that place, because when I was watching the last couple of days, there's a lot of holes that I can't really remember other than going 18 backwards all the way through the course. But I did find out this. It is running fucking firm and fast. The rough is like this. The greens are extremely firm right now. The temperatures, you've been there before, the temperature deal that you have to deal with, early 40s, high 30s, low 40s in the morning. The ball doesn't go anywhere. There's going to be some serious wind on Friday. And it's just one of those iconic courses. I know that he refurbished all of these bunkers. And if you notice, I don't know if you've been watching it the way I've been watching it, but these bunkers are like 8 to 10 feet below the putting surfaces, right? Like they were showing Victor Hovland hitting some bunker shots, and I'm like, these guys literally have to have their caddies stand on the green and hold the flag up to see where they are. And I heard Dustin do an interview today with somebody, and he was talking about, he's like, man, usually in these championships, when you hit a shot offline, you're like, get in the bunker. He's like, I don't know if I'm going to say that this year because, they're pitched so low behind the green. So I've heard some stories about what guys think winning scores are going to be. Some guys say in the high single digits. I've only had one player that I've been paying attention to that said that the course isn't as hard as I thought it was going to be, and that's Joel Damon. And he said that's strictly due to the fact that the fairways are a little bit wider than he thought they were going to be, and with the fairways moving so firm, it brings in, it makes it more equivalent to the Super Bombers. And remember,
Joel, just you wait, buddy. Just you wait. Those fairways might seem a little wide, but but that course, it's going to be high single digits. I mean, probably 6 to 8 under, I would imagine.
Yeah, it's funny. They asked Shane Lowry today. They go, "What do you think winning score?" And all these world-class marquee players, they're not stupid enough to say, "Hey, it's going to be this or it's going to be that." They play it by ear. They're experienced and they're smart. They don't have a target score because they're in one shot at a time mode, and I keep myself in position. But he actually, if I heard him right, he goes, man, if I'm 3 or 4 or 5 under with, I think he said with 9 holes to go, I know I'm going to have a really good week, and it's a good possibility that I'm going to have a chance to win. And I've listened to numerous other interviews, Finau included, where he's like, and most of these guys are saying the key to this golf course, as you know, and I know because we've been there, is driving it in the fairway there, because in some spots it's hack out rough. I will tell you what I remember about that. In 2013, we had bad weather and it was soaking wet. So if you carried it 300 to 315 yards, you did have a distinct advantage. With that being said, Duff ends up winning it, right? But he doesn't carry it that far, but Dustin did. I want you to, when you watch it this weekend, you've played 18 before. I got this great story with Dustin on, I want to say it's 16 or 17, but early in the week, we're watching all these guys. Charles Schwartzel comes to mind. They're hitting driver on one of those holes out there, 16 or 17. That's not a fucking driver hole because there's a couple trees pitched there on the right and everything funnels to these trees. And we were laughing all week at all these players that we were paired with that insist on hitting driver there. And it all ends up in the same spot. It's almost a chip out behind this tree. And I'll never forget when we got to that hole and Dustin was about in 6th or 7th place. He goes, Bob, I think I just need to hit driver right here, bro. And I'm like, and it's not one of my greatest lines, but I'm like, wait, isn't this the hole where me and you have been laughing our fucking asses off the last 3 days at these guys pushing driver up there? He's like, yeah, Bob, you're right. He ends up parring it. But I want you to pay attention to 18 because this is when Dustin hit this big hammer hard draw, right? Dustin drove this thing. We thought it was out of bounds on 18 on Sunday. And I believe we were tied for 10th at that point. We had made a late bogey, 10th or 11th. And he hit it fucking 70 yards left of the fucking cart path over there, or the path over there. It might even be a maintenance thing. We found it. It was sitting perfect. He stuffed it to the like this, and we ended up finishing 8th. So I've had some good experience there. But like Dustin said in his interview, he's like, man, I can't even tell you, what winning score is going to be, because when I was here last time, and I don't think he has the greatest memory when it comes to playing holes and stuff like that. You know what I mean? He said he remembered the backside like I did, but the front side's a different animal. But obviously Dustin is playing some very good golf right now. Want to hear my I don't want to say shit on Paulina's story, but you want to hear my funny story from what I really remember in 2013. So I'm staying in a house with Dustin. So it's me, Dustin, and Paulina, and they're newly dated, right? And they go and buy a puppy, like a Labradoodle puppy, just out of the blue from a breeder in Rochester. We get back from the golf course from a practice round. He's like, well, we got to go run an errand. And I'm like, okay, they're no big deal, right? They come back with a puppy, right, during a major. And I'm like, you bought a puppy, dude? And he's like, oh, Bob, she wanted a puppy. And I'm like, oh, this is a cute little puppy. Well, he had this chef. I think her name was Ingrid. This was when he was getting big time and bringing chefs in and that kind of stuff. And she's doing her little poo-poo platter for Paulina, and she's like, oh my God, the hummus doesn't taste great. Can you redo the hummus? And Joey D was just starting to be his trainer. You know Joey D,
I know Joey D down in Florida,
baby.
Steroid.
I think Colby Lane is actually like the big trainer there, but I think Joey D with all his steroids, and he started the business. He can take the credit for everything that happens there. That's the kind of guy he strikes me. So we're having this sit down dinner on a Friday night, right? The sit down dinner, and there's steaks and there's good red wine. There's everything like that. And I'm sitting next to Joey D. And I'm like, he looks at me, I look at him, and I'm like, you smell that? And he goes, yeah, I smell it. I go, what the fuck is that? It smells like shit, right? So we both at the same time, we knock heads looking on the table, and there's Rover. Tiny little puppy Rover has dropped a steamer underneath the fucking dinner table, right? And I'm like, hey, Dustin. And if you've ever eaten dinner with Dustin, there's not a lot of talking going on. There's just this. He's just rifling his fucking food down, right? He's not paying attention to anything. And I'm like, hey, Dustin, I think the dog took shit underneath the dinner table, and I'm getting sick to my stomach right now. And he doesn't pay attention to me. And she's sitting next to me, and I go, hey, Paulina, your dog took a shit underneath the table. Are you going to do something about it? I'll never forget it. She gets about 6 inches from my face, and she goes, do you fucking expect me to clean it up? And I'm like, well, it's your dog, isn't it? And she's like, I'm not cleaning that up. So I don't know. I excuse myself from the table. That's just a random Bobby Brown story, but that's the kind of caliber of emails that there are in the world, I guess. So
that is Robert took a steamer that needs a butler. You know what I mean?
Robert took a steamer and it fucked up my T-bone. I don't really have much intel other than it's a major. It's going to be hard. It's Oak Hill. I'm trying to angle what is the best way to pick our penny bets? You being the champion of the week last week, you get to pick first. So that kind of frees me up. But I'm not going to give you any hints because sometimes I give you hints, but I'm trying to figure out what wave is the best wave because we're going to pick a marquee player, right? Because the cream rises to the top in these things. You're not picking Joel Damon. None of us are going to pick a club pro. Sam Ryder's probably not going to get picked. No disrespect. Steven Yeager's not going to get picked. Me or you are going for the creme de la creme. So I think I got to figure it out on to when the wind's going to blow and what wave that I have. So are we at that?
We're to penny bets. We are to, because we could have done a full field analysis. However, I feel like you don't want to give it away and I don't want to give it away. So maybe we'll talk about some guys after we do the penny bet. How about that?
Oh, okay. Yeah, go ahead. Right? Yeah.
So, the one question that's been going through my mind as we get into these penny bets is, does a LIV golfer win a major this year? And, we sat there and we went back and forth. You said no, I said yes. Cam Smith did not win the Masters this year, which was my pick for the Masters, not my penny bet pick, but it was my pick from last year before he ended up going to LIV. And I felt like, he had a chance. Well, didn't come into form. However, coming into this PGA Championship, we got a few guys in form from LIV. Right. And I'm just going to go out there and put this on a limb to say that with DJ putting the way that he is right now, and outside of a triple bogey last weekend, I'm going with Dustin Johnson.
Oh, my God, you did not.
Yep.
God almighty. Well, I wasn't going to fucking pick him anyways because he only had to beat fucking 40. I want to say he had to beat 47 guys last week, but he really only had to beat every week.
There was 49 because there was a WD. If you
Ogletree only came in because Westy got hurt. So Ogletree came in to fill that spot. So there was technically only, I guess you could say 48 and a half guys. But Westy didn't play the last day. Did you know Ogletree came in? I know I'm jumping to LIV, but did you know that Ogletree came in and shot 8 fucking under par? That guy who is a chop, who I keep telling is actually a fucking good player. He shot 8 under par, second lowest round of the day. You're taking, I want to bet you, I can tell you what, the odds aren't stacked in your favor before I make my pick, but you can take the whole fucking LIV field and I'll take the rest of the field for another 1,000 pennies and tell you a LIV guy doesn't win because you're saying he's making putts. Yeah, he only 21 putts on Friday.
I'll take it.
Fucking done.
Done.
So
deal. What that means is that somebody has to win from either LIV or the PGA Tour.
Yeah, club pros don't count. Come on,
or amateurs. Are there any amateurs in there? No, of course not.
No, there's no amateurs in there. So you basically, there's 17 of them in the field. You got 17 of them, and I got everybody else.
You got the rest.
And yes, Dustin only had 21 putts on the first day, and he went fucking Yahtzee, and he played great. But if you were gonna, he should have won that tournament last week by 3 or 4 shots, but he couldn't make a putt under pressure with him and Einstein Jr. reading the putts out there with his feet.
Hang on a second. He made a birdie on the last, and then he made it in the playoff. Come on.
Yes, he did.
We're not even to LIV Golf yet, and we're already arguing about LIV Golf.
I'm going to argue this straight because I watched that fucking shit last week, and I never watch it, but because
I'm rolling the rock, Bobby.
They got Austin on the mic, and I'm just listening to him.
You hated having him on the mic,
doing that, and he's like, "Well, I gotta go a little bit. That. What do you like? I gotta go. What do you like?"
Well, each one that he actually read
did not go in on 13, 14, 15, 16, or 17.
And they were off by, and it was the read. It wasn't DJ's putting. It was
they might have been bad putts. Now let's get to my segment here of where I'm going to pick somebody because I feel like the way that you dominated me last week with the way I've been dominated. Dominated me. It wasn't even close. I was like saying Hail Marys for this fucking Siwon Kim dude. But anyways, I could be at that stage where I'm going to start making stupid, random fucking with my heart bets is where I think I'm at this stage. But I'm going to go. I have it narrowed down to 2 guys. One of them, if I told you I'm not going to pick him, you would laugh at because you think he's totally off form and his brain's all fucking shit right now. I was going to pick Rory because I did hear that Rory went over to Tiger's house last week for 2 hours because Tiger fucking texted him and said, dude, I know what's going on with you and that kind of stuff. Come over to my casa in my personal driving range back there. So I heard this whole story that Tiger supposedly fixed him, right?
Wow.
But I'm going to take Tony Finau.
Holy shit. No, I hate that pig.
He finished fourth in the PGA last year, didn't he? You hate that team?
No, I hate it because it's a good pick. It's a good pick.
Motherfucker.
No, it's a good pick. I mean, some of the others that other notables that I like.
I was gonna pick Rory.
You know, I like Rory this week.
Yeah.
I also like Adam Scott.
Yeah.
2 top 10s, and he top 10 there. I think he finished like third back in 2013.
10 years ago.
Then you've got Cam Young, New York kid going back. You got Rochester. You know, I like Cam Young.
On form.
Cam Smith is not on form. Let me just go out there on a limb and say this. He's missing too many shots to be on form. And by shots, his flat stick is on fire, though. He's making fucking everything. I mean, he did shoot. What he shoot on Sunday in the LIV Golf event? 61. Yeah. I mean, he was
Harold
on
Varner
fire.
got all the accolades for that, for his 61.
I did see that too. And his was not nearly, well, HV3 actually hit the ball better than Cam Smith did. But Cam Smith's putter is just insane. I mean,
but that's always
everything.
been Cam Smith. But I feel like watching him like a racehorse, and because we were talking at Augusta, we were both, even though he was your pick, we both were in agreement that, you know, his 3 months off and going home into Australia, that he was going to have to play his way informed. So I just feel like
he is. I mean, he's on the way up. Yeah, I mean, he's trending in the right direction. Brooks Koepka is right there as well.
Yeah, he could win too. He's won 2 of those things. He's won 2 of those things. Rory's won 2 of those things. But I'm gonna go with the cutter, the bomber cutter, Tony Finau. You know,
I like it. All right.
Yeah.
You got Finau. Well, we've already been talking a lot about LIV Golf, so why not get right into our finale, which is the LIV Golf Tulsa recap. Now, for all the LIV lovers out there, and I'm talking about the enthusiasts that just can't hear a single thing that is bad, or even if it's factual or true, that you just go off the handle and you just don't want to hear anything about your puppy that is bad, okay? I totally get it. So the LIV lovers, we're going to give you a warning when it comes up, and we will call the earmuff moment for when we start talking bad about LIV Golf. But for right now, we're going to talk about the good. And Dustin Johnson, how about me calling that right there, Bobby? Last week I said this is going to be his best tournament of the year. He's going to finish top 5. You challenged me to a penny bet on that one. You go, bet you 1,000 pennies he's not going to finish in the top 5. Again. And guess what? DJ wins in a playoff, and boy, was it ever impressive over Cam Smith and over Brandon Grace. Now, the one thing I will say, Cam Smith got a bad break on that final putt. That was it got offline. It looked like it hit something, and it just kind of pushed it out to the right pretty much right away, which is, I was actually thinking about it. I must say, I was sitting there watching it, and I'm like, I think DJ just won it when he made his putt, because I'm going, Cam Smith, that putt, even though Cam Smith is going to make that the majority of the time, green conditions at the end of the day, they've been stepped on a lot. If it catches anything and doesn't go exactly how you read it, then you're going to miss it. And sure enough, that's what happened.
Yeah, and he was on the caller too, wasn't he?
No, so DJ was on the caller and Brendan Grace. Yep.
And you know, speaking of Brendan Gray, well, first of all, I'm going to congratulate you because you picked Dustin, because I couldn't have disagreed with you more, because I was under the assumption, even though I said it in the past, once we got back to the States and we got to those jumbo golf courses, I'm going to blame it on Bo Van Pelt, because he gave me the fucking rundown. He said the 7,300 plays a lot shorter.
I told you.
Right. It's tree lined. You were 100% right. I was 100% wrong. And here I'm bagging on DJ missing those putts on 13, 14, 15, 16. But fucking Brendan Grace stuffed it inside of him on all those holes, and he didn't hit the hole on any of those putts either. So it was, like I told you, I don't watch I haven't watched all year this year, and I turned on the last 7 or 8 holes, and I'm glad I did, because it was a super exciting finish, and
it was awesome. I mean, let's face it. Tulsa had a great crowd. They had a weather delay, so it ended up finishing way later than the PGA Tour event, and it was the only thing really to watch. And I'm sitting there going, this is fantastic action to see everything coming down to the final couple holes. And it was a 3-horse race. I mean, between DJ, Cam Smith, and Brendan Grace. But to your point off air, DJ shouldn't have been close, because DJ had a triple. What hole was that? I'm trying to remember. What was it?
I think it was like, I don't know what it was, but I was listening to him talking about it, how he's like, I hit a bad drive, and I had a bad second shot. And we'll talk about in our bad section about the condition of the course coming up. But he's like, then I hit it in the water, then I had to drop in the mud.
He had a bad break hitting it in the water, hit the cart path, trickled down, and then went to the left into the water.
Yeah. So but that's golf, right? And that's that's golf. And that's Dustin. That kind of drama shit happens with Dustin sometimes when he's trying to win a golf tournament. He's never really, recently he hadn't done much until he got to LIV and he won both these tournaments. The fact of the matter is he is fucking Dustin Johnson, right? And
he's a thoroughbred.
And he's a fucking flat out thoroughbred. And he was the king of the thoroughbreds before all of these thoroughbreds started popping up, these athletes and that kind of stuff. So he played fantastic. We talked about Harold Varner got beat. What did he get beat? A couple shots. He finished fourth, shot 61. Koepka was kind of right there.
He was there. He was in the top 10.
Yeah, he was 12 or 13 under. Obviously, this was a very gettable course if they were 17 under. If they were 17 under par after 3 days, like you would compare it to the Dallas course last week where they were 17 under par after 3 days too. So there were tons of birdies out there. Bryson DeChambeau fucking career actually finished in the top
finally.
Yeah,
it's good to see some life signs coming out of DeChambeau.
Yeah, for sure. Our least favorite person, I have two least favorite persons now.
I can save that for the bad. The bad.
But Fat Ass Perez finished eight. Fat Ass Perez really played good the first couple of days, and then the pressure got to him because he made those bogeys. He was playing good. He was 6 or 7 under for the day. He was really helping the team. And then the real Pat Perez showed up and he made 3 bogeys in a row. He was pissing away the team thing. God, that team's like not even fucking. I didn't even look at the standings, which I usually do, but they have to be like 100 points in front of everybody else. I'm surprised this is the first time that they've won this year, to be honest with you, when I heard that. But let's get back to the Fat Ass Perez.
Well, hang on a second. Stinger GC in the team event ends up beating the 4 aces by a shot. So you got Brendan Grace, who obviously was in the playoff, got Louis Oosthuizen, Dean Burmester, and then you got Charles Schwartzel. So they end up, and it's because of what you were just talking about with Pat Perez, where he ends up, because of DJ's triple bogey, it moves DJ out of the counting score.
Right.
Then all of a sudden, Pat Perez realizes his score is counting. Right. And he just crumbled under the pressure. It was tough to watch. I mean, he was swearing left and right. I mean, that's the one interesting thing about the LIV Golf Plus app, where you can watch it live and stream it, or I don't know on the CW if they allow that language to go through or not, because I haven't seen it on the CW yet, but he was dropping F-bombs left and right that was on the broadcast. And you're just sitting there going, man, this is pretty crazy that he's every other word out of his mouth is dropping an F-bomb, but he lost it for him. I mean, let's face it. He definitely lost it for the 4 aces.
When Dustin made the triple, so now Perez is in the mix, he probably realizes he's in the mix for the team. He bogeys 3 in a row. Then he hoops one for an eagle, and then he backs that up with a fucking sloppy bogey. Right after that, he ends up finishing.
And he missed a lot of birdie putts in there too.
Yeah, and he ended up finishing 18th, which is actually a pretty good week for Perez out there, isn't it? I would imagine.
I mean, it's average. That's where he's always kind of been, in that middle range.
So I lost 1,000 pennies because.
Oh, hang on. All right. Here's the caveat. LIV lovers, we have talked positively about LIV Golf Tulsa. Now is your time to either hit pause and not come back and listen to the rest of the episode, or put on your earmuffs and stop listening altogether, because it is earmuffs time, and it's time to get into the bad portion of LIV Golf, which let's start off. Why not start off with the golf picks but louder, Bobby? Golf picks but louder. This is the segment every week to where whenever there's a LIV Golf event, we're going to pick the last place player and the last place team as to who we think are going to technically win in last place. And sure enough, the individual, once again, I mean, you can't even really get credit for this anymore.
Yes,
it is basically a cheat code. It's a goddamn cheat code. You figured out that Siwon Kim is playing terribly. He's shown some signs of life, but once again,
why? Because he's breathing.
Yeah, exactly. He's off the ventilator. He's
finished
breathing on his own.
third.
Which means that there was 5 guys that finished worse than him.
Yeah.
And gosh darn it, if I sat there and I'm like, they were neck and neck, him and Martin Keimer, which I made a great call with Martin Keimer.
You did.
They ended up finishing 1 shot apart. But you win the individual. So I
won the individual.
We'll give you that. Okay.
Well, yeah.
So after being
close.
down 2,000 because of the DJ bet and because of the penny bet on the PGA Tour, you came back and we are all even heading into the team side of it.
God,
and the Cliques made a huge comeback on Sunday. Huge comeback.
Can I say that I laugh when you say a huge comeback to finish last? I was killing you in that team bet for 2 days.
You were dominating.
I was
dominating the.
But going back to the timer bet, you know what got me worried was that's the one I pay attention because I know Siwon Kim's not going to play good. You know, but when I found out like the day before that Keimer WD'd from the PGA Championship because he wasn't feeling good, I knew I was in fucking trouble on that.
You were sweating it, weren't you?
I was sweating it. But another congratulations to Matt because I don't think I've cold decked a last place team this year. And not only did you cold deck the winner, but you cold decked the last place team too. So I did. You in fuego. So
I'm on fire. I'm back up 1,000 pennies, folks. And by the way, Bobby had the Iron Heads, and they finished second to last. So kudos to you for almost picking up that one.
That wins 9 times out of 10, but it didn't win in Tulsa.
Nope. The Cliques knew that I had picked them for last place, and they made a hell of an effort in order to finish in last. So congrats to the Cliques.
Let's continue on the shitty part, the bad part of it. How about the course condition out there?
It was not good.
Oh my God. I heard the guys were bitching and moaning. Were you laughing when you were watching on TV and you were seeing all these dry spots and Dawson got in the mud and all that kind of stuff? And you're like, you would never see that on a PGA Tour event. That's all.
No, the mud. The mud is the reason why I think DJ wasn't that pissed off because he had no footing over there whatsoever. I mean, he was in mud. There was some tire tracks too. I was surprised he didn't ask for an official to come over and potentially give him relief.
Was his ball in a tire track?
Yeah, there were some like cart tire tracks that went through the mud, and his ball was right in the middle of it. I was surprised.
Usually you would get that kind of relief. The only thing there's obviously 2 reasons they didn't.
Well, they never called an official.
Well, he never called an official, or that tire track that he was in maybe smoothed it out and made it a little bit more firmer, and he thought it was a better lie. Because the fact is if it's I didn't see it, but if it's a lot of mud around, and if he's going to go ahead and drop it in mud from the knee, it's going to stick, right? It's like dropping in a bunker. It's going to probably plug a little bit, you know, 1/8 of the ball or 1/4 of the ball or something like that. So, or maybe they just missed it because take it from me when you're under pressure, not that they're really under pressure at LIV because you don't feel like they're really under pressure because didn't Gracie win at Pumpkin Ridge too? And remember I was ragging on, I'm like, hey, I know Dustin Johnson, this ain't fucking same because him and Gracie are yucking it up when they're trying to win a golf tournament. And did you notice last week they were doing the same thing in between shots? They were like hands were moving and they were talking about shit and that kind of stuff. So it's still the best exhibition tour in the world by far, but the course condition.
Well, then you got Dom. Dom's out there going, all this pressure is so incredible. And it's like a major every week out here at LIV Golf. I just sat there and I go, Dale, can you just stop saying stupid shit like that? We all know it has no type of comparable pressure to a PGA Tour event or to a major championship. And these guys aren't that caring about $4 million versus $2 million versus $1.
Oh my God. And the Egg Foo Young chick who does, I'm so sorry. The Egg Foo Young chick, she's got to go. Suhan's got to go. The Arlo guy, your Arlo guy, he's growing on me because I'm a Ted Lasso guy.
He's in Ted Lasso.
And he's got the voice and everything.
Well, he's got no idea about golf, but it's great. I actually like that about it.
About golf. And that Jerry Foltz, I mean, Jesus Christ, you can fucking just get rid of him once and for all. I mean, he thinks he knows. He's a great.
He does think he knows everything.
God, he does. For a guy that never won on the fucking PGA Tour and was life and death to keep his card for a few years, he just knows. Just ask him. He knows everything about everything. But the overselling of the tour and everything like that is has hit an all-time high. But let's get to the greatest hate part.
Yes.
Thank CW Network. Do you want to intro this, Matt?
Oh my gosh. So for all those fans watching on the CW, which it's not a lot, but I feel really bad for the people watching on CW because guess what? We're getting right to a playoff. And with any major sporting event in America, you never, ever, ever see where they cut away. The CW cut.
Is it true they went to Family Feud?
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. They decided that Family Feud was going to get them more views than the LIV Golf League playoff. I mean, Twitter was blowing up because there were obviously some people that were watching it on the CW. Yeah. And when they caught away, man, the Twitter feeds went nuts and these people were pissed. I felt bad, actually.
Well, it's funny. I don't really have channels or anything like that. Like Hulu is my $67 a month carrier and that kind of stuff. So
that's why I do the LIV Golf Plus app.
Okay, so I don't even do the app, but I just went to Hulu. I'm like, well, there's nothing else to watch. I got to watch this. And I was looking at the leaderboard all day for obvious reasons for our $10 bet. But I was like, okay. And I clicked it on, and Hulu knows what I like to watch because the top 6 things that whatever I'm interested in, whoever's listening to me and
the
knows.
Algorithm.
Yeah, the algorithm knows. So it popped up. So I put it on, I start watching it. And then they go, okay, we're going to, if you want to continue your coverage, you go to the CW app. And I panicked, right? And I'm like, oh my God, I don't fucking know where, I'm not going to an app. How do I do this? But it kept rolling on mine. So I think I was on the CW app already or something on Hulu, but that was just, man, that just
you were on the CW app, which the app stayed with LIV Golf, but the actual channel for cable networks did not. And people went absolutely berserk.
Well, that just goes to show you where they are. That's
the other shitty thing about the LIV Golf Tulsa was the fact that, do you recall a guy named Phil Mickelson after the Masters claiming that watch out, he's in form. Yes. He's all of a sudden going to start playing fantastic in golf tournaments, which, by the way, when you start saying that about yourself, that's the kiss of death right there, because 45th, he finished worse than C1 Kim, Bobby.
C1 Kim fucking took him down. Oh my God.
Tough luck.
Yeah, tough luck. He had zero chance of making the cut at Oak Hill for doesn't drive it good enough. Zero. Might not even finish in the top 100. I don't even want to throw that bet out there, but because he's
not taking it.
But we ain't at Augusta where he's got his magic green reading book of all the putts that he's had over the last 20 some years out there. So I think he's going to get smoked. And remember, I was sharing a little bit of information about how I just can't stand Danny Lee as a human being and that kind of stuff. He had a nice solid 36th place finish. Did you know?
Oh, I missed that one. Okay.
Yeah, he finished 36. And Kevin Na was in last after like the first day. I'm like, I am fucking steamrolling, Matt.
I know the cleats actually look good after day one.
God paid me back for talking shit about Danny Lee. God paid me back. So, oh my God, what a week for LIV. What a week. But to go back, good for Tulsa though, right? Because they had some people come up that they probably had double digits people a day. You never really know how much they have because there's no way of telling because they just lie about it, all the, about how many people they have. But I did hear that they were raving. They're like, we had 14,000 people on one day. What did Dallas have? And I'm like, well, the stupid idiots don't even know that the one hole over the weekend, 17 at Dallas held 8,000 people itself. And it was packed out.
Dallas was packed. There's no comparison. That's what I don't get about this whole rivalry between the two, because you get a bunch of idiots that don't know any better, and they just start spouting off at the mouth going, oh, well, we had way more for the LIV event than the PGA Tour event. It's like, guys,
not even close.
Why even say it? Like, it doesn't even matter. Like, it doesn't affect LIV Golf if PGA Tour has 25,000 versus them. Yeah. Like, the whole entire thing for LIV Golf is the fact that they had a decent outing with the crowds in Tulsa, and those Tulsa fans give them a round of applause once again for being out there after the weather delay. Like they actually had a good 18th hole set up to where, for the playoff and everything, there was a lot of fans out there, which was great to see. And I think it's to the point now. Did you see the picture that golf.com posted on Instagram just hours before we got on to this recording, where you have Phil Mickelson walking next to Colin Morikawa, and just in front of him are Rory McIlroy and Jay Monahan. It's looking a little bit more like they're all going to start working together at some point. Like,
well, I don't. Okay, so I saw that picture a few times, but you know what went through my mind is Phil's back there talking to Colin, and Colin doesn't look very interesting. He's just interested, but Phil's like he's got his hands going, and it's the Phil Mickelson that I've known for years, and he's selling him on something. Did you also see the picture of Phil in his suit for the Champions dinner, and he's there propping those recovery gummies?
Oh yeah,
got a bag of the recovery. It's always about the fucking hustle and the dollar for Phil, really, isn't it? If it's not,
well, it needs the money, Bobby.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, he must be betting on fucking
a lot of gambling.
Yeah, the Oakland A's this year or something like that. I'm not sure what their 2,000 fans that they're getting. There was one other shitty thing I wanted to bring up too. Oh, I remembered. We're back on Fat Ass Perez. So Dustin wins, and it's customary for the whole team to go out there and congratulate him. Who was the only team member that wasn't out there celebrating with Dustin for his W? The fucking fat boy himself. Didn't want any fucking part of it, did he? No. Couldn't find him with the search warrant. He's in that locker room packing his shit up.
Well, it also made me wonder, Bobby, was he washing Dustin's car to get it ready for him for the celebration? He did. I mean, this is coming from Pat's own mouth.
Well, I know
when DJ brought him over to LIV Golf, he's like, I'll wash his car if I have to.
Yeah, he probably was one. That's why he said that. That's very good. Well, I know one thing he wasn't doing. He wasn't catching a flight to fucking Oak Hill, Rochester. That's for sure. He was not catching a flight. So, hey, before we cut out a little small thing, because we love our Mito Pereira's caddy, Scott McGinnis, and he shared some emotional insight on what it was like to be next to Mito when Southern Hills went down last week and that kind of stuff. They did this small segment on Mito today. I saw it for about 10 minutes, and they did a small segment on Scott. Here's something that I didn't know that Scott didn't share with us. But I've never seen Scott McGinnis. These Aussies are tough guys, right? You know what I mean? They can take some fucking shit. You know, they'd like to get after it. You just got a gut feeling that if you're in a bar room and if you got an Aussie on your side, you're not going to lose your fight, right? They did this thing with Scott McGinnis revealed that when Mito made that bad swing and hit it in the creek, and Scott was in tears. If you get a chance to watch this, Scott was in tears telling this story that from the time that they got off of that tee box, you know how he knew he went in the water is because he said the whole crowd was clapping and saying, he fucking USA, he hit it in the water, the foreigner hit it in the water, and Scotty was just in tears telling this story. So, Scott, I'm thinking about you, bud. I hope you have a great redemption week there at Oak Hill after Southern Hills last year, but you're doing just fine, and you're making some money, and all of us guys know what a great caddy you are that have caddied with you in the past, and we're thinking about you, Scott. And that's just something I wanted to add in there before we cut out, man.
Love that. You just gave me chills. How about that?
I know. Scotty Mac.
Let's get it this week, buddy.
Maybe I'll run Kennedy for president. I don't know.
There you go. Well, Bobby's got a new guy.
Yeah.
We talked about the AT&T Byron Nelson. We absolutely went through the PGA Championship this week. LIV Golf Tulsa recap, the good and the bad. So, Bobby, this wraps up another episode. Thank you, everybody, for listening. And until next week, this is it for
next week. We got a lot to talk about next week.
Absolutely. Have a good one, Bobby.
Okay, Matt. Take care, buddy.
Bye now.
See ya.
Thank you for tuning in to Season 2 of the Pull Hook Golf Podcast. Make sure to hit subscribe and go to www.pullhookgolf.com for more